How many years have you been struggling with anxiety or fear or panic or stress? I've had people that came to me that say they've been dealt with it for 30 years and they've been better in a couple of weeks. Don't allow your past experience with trying to overcome these things make a determination whether it's possible to overcome it. There are many, many things that people have been struggling for years with because they have done it wrong or because they simply didn't have the confidence to do what it takes to break through and to overcome it. That doesn't mean it's not doable. You can overcome stress and anxiety. Yes, you can. That doesn't mean that you won't have a normal and manageable and level of stress in your life that doesn't hinder performance or quality of life. Stress is a normal part of life. Stress is healthy. Stress keeps you motivated. Stress keeps you in line. Stress gives you energy. It's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's something wrong with it if you don't feel good. There's something wrong with it if it affects you from being able to follow through and play the game that's called life. So if it hinders you to the degree that your quality of life is affected, then you can work with it. Now, you need to understand it does not matter how long you're struggling with it. It does not matter whether you're struggling with 30 years or you're struggling with it for 30 days. It's something you can overcome. It's something you can deal with because it's a software problem. When it comes to mental illness or when it comes to mental health or when it comes to your mind, the way I see it is there's software problems and there's hardware problems. There are certain biological conditions in the mind that are hardware problems. Let's say retardation, right? It's a hardware problem. It's not a thought pattern problem. While they could be helped to learn functions or they could be helped to a certain degree to be stretched and make them more functional and more understanding and more relatable, they have a hardware problem. Similarly, there are mental health conditions that are hardware problems, namely bipolar, schizophrenia. There is a hardware challenge in the mind where certain chemicals don't work properly, where they need to be managed generally with medication, definitely the more severe cases. And because there's a hardware challenge, by explaining them, by talking to them, by reworking the software in the brain, will not heal the underlying hardware problem. Then we have problems like anxiety, fear, panic, stress, normal levels of depression, which are software problems. Now, that doesn't mean all depression. Disclaimer, there are depressions. Not all depressions are equal. There are depressions that are hardware problem depressions, and there are depressions that are software. When I'm using the word depression, I'm using a layman term, not clinically depressed, but just feeling depressed, which is extremely common. So if you feel normal emotion, anxiety, fear, panic, stress, even if it totally debilitates you from being able to do what you got to do, but many times, or most times, it's driven by a software problem, meaning to say you're just not thinking correctly. If you're not achieving what you want to achieve in life, if you're held back by stress, you're held back by anxiety, you cannot do what you want to do. You cannot have the relationship you want to have. You cannot have the business that you want to have. You cannot have the religious, connection and spiritual connections that you want to have in life. That is depressing. 85% of people who struggle with anxiety, fear, panic, and stress have coexisting depression because it is depressing not being able to live life the way you want to do. It's depressing when you want to feel a certain way and your body doesn't cooperate. It's depressing when you want to follow through with something and you can't. It's depressing when you have great conceptions of what you want to do and you can't bring it to fruition. So that's depressing. So these are hardware problems. Once you learn how to be able to manage your mind effectively and you learn how to rework the program. So if you're working a problem that says, and you're feeling like you can't do anything with life, you're feeling like you're overwhelmed, you're feeling like you're worthless, you're feeling like nothing that you do works, you lost your confidence, well, those are software problems. Those are ways of thinking, and you can change that. Confidence is an emotion. Happiness is an emotion. Motivation is an emotion, and you can learn how to do that. Follow me in these videos, and I'll teach you loads. I'll teach you so much about your mind. I'll teach you so much about how you can make massive change in your mind. All I ask you to do is to share and like these videos so we can get it around and make a change and affect a lot more people and make this world a better place.